Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we have something really exciting for you. We'll be going over the top 5 things that C9 Blaber does to win in solo queue. At the end of the video, we even included a bonus advanced tip, so trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Now, some of you may be wondering who C9 Blaber is. He's a professional jungler for the North American team C9, and he's actually been pretty slept on. A lot of professional players in North America and Europe, although are highly skilled players, aren't that active in solo queue. This is the opposite philosophy in Korea, where the best players in the region are constantly grinding the ladder trying to get to the top. And C9 Blaber definitely encompasses that Korean mentality, having been the rank 1 jungler on both the North American and European servers. So let's jump into the top 5 things that he does to stomp solo queue and that you should be doing too. Starting with the first thing, and that's having your opening route on lockdown. So C9 Blaber is playing Gragas against that jungle. The first thing you should be doing is identifying what sideline you want to gank early, as this decides which buff you're starting at. This is something we've taught you guys a lot, so you should already be familiar with this concept, but stick with me as this time it's going to be a bit different. In top lane, we have Ryze against Riven. Ryze has crowd control with his rune Prison, and Riven can be slippery and hard to gank due to her mobility. That being said, Ryze is a great scaling champion that does have carry potential, so we may want to gank this lane early. In bot lane, we have Karma Thresh against Misfortune Leona. Karma and Thresh offer a ton of crowd control and follow up on her ganks, while Misfortune and Leona lack escape abilities. But there is one downside. Since we have a Karma 80 carry, she doesn't have a ton of scaling or carry potential. Overall though, still a great lane to gank early. Awesome, so the first step is to analyze lanes and decide whether you want to gank top or bot lane early. And the second step is to know the possible meta routes that fit into that game plan. For example, let's say you wanted to gank top. You really have two main options in the current meta. You can start at your blue, taking Gromp next, and then your red. This will let you hit a super fast level 3 and have double buffs. Or you could start at your red, then Krugs, into Raptors, and look to gank the same side that you started on. Again, you're level 3, but don't have double buffs, only red. Being familiar with meta routes is so important not just for your own decision making, but also tracking the enemy jungler, which we'll be getting into in a little bit. Now, let's say you wanted to gank bot instead. I want you to pause the video and tell me, what are the two main meta routes that you could take? The answer is red, blue into Gromp, again a super fast level 3 and you have double buffs. Or you can take red, Krugs, Raptors, again hitting level 3, at which point you can gank bot or take your blue first. Now this is often a point where a lot of players get stuck on. You're probably thinking, great, so I can memorize all these routes, but how do I know which one to use? Well, it all comes down to your champion's strength, specifically whether you have good AoE or single target damage. For example, in this game, C9 Blaber is playing Gragas. Gragas starts with a Talisman and has 3 AoE abilities. Talisman helps AoE abilities do more damage due to its passive, so clearly Gragas wants to be focusing camps that are better at clearing when you have AoE damage. And that would be the Krugs and Raptors, 2 camps with the most monsters. So if you wanted to gank top, you'd look to do red, Krugs, Raptors into ganking the same side that you started on. If you wanted to gank bot, you do red, Krugs, Raptors into ganking bot. But what if you were playing a champion like Warwick, Lee Sin, or Xin Zhao, champions that start Hunter's Machete and have single target damage? Great, you focus on the single target camps, specifically red, blue, and Gromp. So if you wanted to gank top, you would do blue, Gromp, red, and if you wanted to gank bot, you would do red, blue, Gromp. In both of those cases, hitting level 3 and having double buffs, and currently this is a great way of deciding on an opening route in the current meta. So what route does C9 Blaber choose to do as he heads into the game? He starts at his Raptors, then does red, into Krugs. Hold on, we never covered this one, so what's going on? Here's the thing, Blaber is playing Gragas and has taken the Predator rune. This is actually a route we covered over a year ago, called the Predator route. You take Raptors, red, Krugs, recall, and purchase boots, then head to your blue side jungle. It just goes to show that trying to learn and improve really adds up over time. We have an entire course dedicated to teaching you the meta routes of the jungle, so if you haven't watched it, now's the time to go check it out. Okay, so just to be clear though, we're not trying to tell you to memorize every single route in the game, but instead to highlight how all of these routes follow basic principles. We know Gragas does AoE damage and starts Talisman, and the Predator route makes use of that by clearing Raptors and Krugs. We also identified that both top and bot are good gank opportunities. Well, he'll take Raptors, red, Krugs, and has an optional gank top before he recalls. And since he's taking the Predator rune, you can't actually use it until you have boots, so by recalling early, we're essentially getting our rune online. And with these boots, we'll then head to the bottom side of the map, where we'll have a gank opportunity there as well. My point is, don't just memorize routes, try to understand the logic behind them, as this is what will truly make you a better player. Now, after Gragas takes his Raptors, red, and Krugs, he looks to recall. Wait a second, why isn't he ganking top? When we look at the lane, Riven is somewhat low in health and is pushed up. Well, we can take what we've just learned and apply it to the enemy jungler. The enemy jungler Set will start Hunter's Machete and is more about single target damage than AoE damage. And if we go back to the start of the game, you need to watch the side lanes to identify where the enemy jungler is starting. Riven shows top early while bot is missing, indicating that they're giving a leash to the enemy Set. Great, so you know Set is starting at his red, and you know he's a single target damage jungler, so I want you to pause the video and tell me, what route will Set be taking? The answer is taking his red, into blue, into Gromp, hitting that fast level 3 and having double buffs. So when Gragas takes his Raptors, red, and Krugs, we know why he's recalling. Even though Riven is pushed up, Set should be on the top side of the map, and so there's a large risk of being counter-ganked top. In the end though, he actually cancels his back, reacting to the predictable gank top by Set to try and make a pick on him. Unfortunately, he tries to flash and time an auto attack with Set's shield expiring, but mistimes it and ends up getting him and his top laner double killed. Okay, so what's going on here? We just spent all this time learning from Blaber and in the end, he just stinted. Well, a common complaint from you guys is that some of the replays we go over, the games go too perfectly. And so we thought we'd use this as an opportunity to show you how by following our basic teachings, you can still int it like Blaber and come back and win the game. Alright, so that was a long one. I promise the next couple of tips won't be, but I hope you can understand just how important knowing your routes can be, as it pretty much decides the entire first few minutes of the game. So let's take a breather and move on to our second tip, which is much simpler, and that's to react to low health enemies. One of the most common complaints players have is that they don't have gankable lanes. Maybe your teammates don't have crowd control, they're constantly pushing, or the enemy has easy escapes. There's one secret to combating this problem, and it's to be on the lookout for low health enemies. In this game, Gragas is leaving the base. Sure, he died, but he's going to be following his earlier game plan. He purchased his boots to activate his Predator rune and is heading to the bottom side of the map where his remaining camps lie. While doing this, he's watching the nearby lanes and spots the enemy bot all-inning, killing his Thresh, but getting low in the process. Now, most players would think this game is over. They inted topside and now their bot lane is losing 2v2. But this is not the case. When a lane is low on health, you need to drop what you're doing and react to it immediately. It's simple, but highly effective. So Gragas doesn't bother farming his blue, wolves, or Gromp. He immediately heads bot to gank the low health enemies, picking up one of the freest kills we've ever seen, and it's really that easy. Suddenly, Gragas is getting back into the game. Now, for a third tip. This is one of the most common mistakes players make all the way into Diamond, so listen up. After picking up the free kill bot, Gragas takes the nearby scuttle. Now, after this, a lot of you guys would probably just head to your blue side jungle to farm it, and I don't blame you. There's no gank bot side since our teammates aren't in lane. And when we move our camera mid, we can see the enemy Vladimir is near full health, he has flash up and is pool. The lane is pushing towards Yasuo, but he should be able to just pool our body slam and walk away, worst case scenario, having to use his flash. On top of this, we don't know where Set is. He could easily be near mid lane in position to counter gank. And yet, this rank 1 jungler is heading mid instead of farming his camps, so clearly he knows something that we don't. Let's jump back to when he first ganks bot lane. He kills Leona, and take note of how Misfortune is super low on health and will need to recall. This puts the enemy bot lane off of the map. Now, when Gragas is taking the scuttle, look at our own bot lane. They've pushed the lane in, and Thresh is now free to roam. And suddenly, we see why Gragas is looking to gank mid instead of farming. He's taken advantage of two things. First, that his teammate, specifically Thresh, has left the lane and is pressuring the map through roaming. Second, that the enemy bot lane has to be off the map, since he killed Leona and the low health Misfortune would have to recall. So really, what's happening here is Gragas isn't ganking mid as much as he's just looking for a fight to break out while he knows he's going to have the numbers advantage. And we see him spot the enemy Set, immediately engage, picking up a kill on him. We can even get insight into how we can take this to higher levels. Blaber is aware that his teammate Karma took teleport while the enemy Misfortune didn't, giving him a potentially even higher number advantage. And this is the most common mistake I see players make. They either go aggressive when their teammates aren't capable of reacting, or they farm when their teammates have pushed in a wave and are looking to roam and pressure the map. If you master this, you're really mastering the rhythm of the game, and you'll find yourself being a lot clearer on what you should be doing. Great, so you've killed Set, but what are you supposed to do next? This is where players can often find themselves without a game plan and a bit lost and confused. As Gragas, should you go back into your jungle and farm? Should you head straight top to try and gank the overextended Riven? Or should you try to tower dive the low health Vladimir mid? Don't worry, as sometimes all you have to do is use the tried and true philosophy of targeting lanes without flash. Keep in mind, earlier when bot lane fought, Leona used her flash. Now, it's not just about targeting laners without flash though, you can actually take this a step further. Take into consideration your teammates' ability to crowd control and follow up on your ganks, along with the enemy's escape ability. In this case, Leona has no escape abilities. On top of this, Karma and Thresh have great crowd control and ability to follow up on ganks. Compare this to if the enemy was Ezreal and Yuumi, and Ezreal had used his flash. Ezreal could still escape with his E ability, and Yuumi would have her heal movement speed boost. If your teammates had low crowd control like Sivir and Soraka, then the fact that Ezreal used his flash wouldn't be as important, and you may want to consider spending your time farming or impacting another lane instead. In this game, that's not the case, and Leona has a clear target on her back. So Gragas heads back into his jungle to farm, but only because he's waiting for the enemy bot lane to get back into lane. As soon as they do, Gragas stops what he's doing and moves to gank them. Keep in mind that Leona actually warded before the gank hit, and it still didn't matter. This truly shows just how powerful it can be to gank a lane that doesn't have flash. Often, even if they have it warded, it won't matter, as they won't be able to retreat in time. So Gragas is able to pick up 2 kills, all from following a really simple principle: gank the lane without flash. He then pushes the wave out after, into recalling to spend his gold. Now, we've taught you a lot so far, so let's put that to the test. Gragas is heading back onto the map. I want you to pay close attention to the minimap. What should he be looking to do? Remember our third tip: go aggressive when your teammates are pressuring the map. Look at how our Karma and Thresh are not in lane and are instead roaming mid. You don't want to farm, instead you want to pressure the map with them. This is because if any fights break out, you'll likely have the man advantage. This is what's referred to as a timing window. Soon, Thresh and Karma will have to head back to their bot lane to pick up the farm and defend their tower. You want to go aggressive during this timing window before they leave. Again, even though Gragas has camps up to farm and Vladimir has pool up, we can see Blaber following this philosophy and actually netting himself a kill. Now, everything we've taught you so far has been aimed at helping you get kills, but one of the most common mistakes players make is focusing too much on kills and ignoring objectives. And this is our 5th tip: you need to be looking to take objectives off of kills. Notice how after Blaber gets the kill on Vladimir mid, he immediately rotates to take the dragon. Firstly, this is huge due to dragons being so strong in the new season with the new Dragon Soul mechanic. Secondly, this is all about taking objectives when you have the numbers advantage. After you successfully kill a lane, you'll have more teammates than the enemy alive on the map. Use this advantage to then take a nearby objective such as Dragon or Herald if they're alive. It's simple, but missing these windows is such a huge problem due to the fact that you may never get them again in the game, permanently losing that objective. Alright, so as a gift to those of you who have stayed until the end, we have a bonus advanced tip. After killing Dragon, Gragas takes his Gromp, recalls, and heads to the top side of the map since his red is alive and Herald is spawning. Hold on though, notice how Blaber is choosing to skip his Krugs and to gank top instead. Upon closer inspection, isn't this wrong? Riven still has her flash up, the wave is closer to her tower, and Riven is notorious for being a slippery champion that's hard to gank. On top of this, it's not like control wards have been placed by our teammate Ryze, it could easily be warded. Here's something truly high level junglers do: they actually check the body language of laners. As we're heading to our Krugs, let's watch top lane with our camera. Notice how aggressive Riven is posturing, constantly darting in towards Ryze as if she's looking to go aggressive. This is how Blaber knows it's worth it for him to try and gank, since the enemy Riven is acting like she wants to trade and play aggressive. Compare this to if she was sitting back and only moving up to last hit. Blaber would never look to gank top then, since it would likely be a waste of time. So sure enough, as Gragas ganks, Riven goes in just like she was acting like she was going to do, letting him pick up both Riven's flash and a kill in the process. After this, we see him put all the lessons we taught you together. What does he do after the successful kill top? Look to take objectives off of kills and rotate to the Herald. And remember, Riven used her flash in the fight, so that makes her a target. After Herald, he farms towards her lane, looking to take advantage of her flash being on cooldown and getting in a successful gank. Again, looking to take objectives after kills, he pushes the lane to take tower plates and drops the Herald. One really advanced trick, that's right, you're getting 2 bonus tips, I noticed Blaber does, is when placing the Herald, he makes sure to take a plate first before the Herald uses its headbutt. This is because Herald's headbutt does true damage, and when you take a turret plate, it increases the tower's resistances. So by taking a plate first, he's actually doing more damage to the tower. Also, by placing the Herald right next to the tower, it has less distance to travel when it headbutts, making the whole process faster than if he placed it further away. Overall, some really high-level optimizations, and that's something to take to heart. Always look to learn and optimize everything you do, that's the key to improving. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. We hope you enjoyed this guide, as we put a lot of work into it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and as always, good luck and have fun on Summoner's Rift.